All right, I want to give you a short introduction on paragraph writing, or sorry, essay writing, but it starts with the paragraph. So my question is, what is a paragraph? Now, a lot of people say it's, you know, a lot of three, or to say, what is a paragraph, or what are the earmarks of a paragraph? They're 3 to 5 sentences, at least. They say indented, things like this. These are kind of the earmarks of it, but when we recognize, how do you recognize a paragraph? Usually we say it's indented and it has a certain number of sentences. But if you have a paragraph like this, where you have a bunch of random ideas thrown together, this is not a good paragraph, because a paragraph focuses on one idea. So the paragraph, by definition, is a group of sentences that fleshes out a single idea. Okay, so this paragraph above does not. I had eggs for breakfast this morning. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. One of the biggest, best, and most successful shows in television is The Big Bang Theory, etc. Now, when you get to this end of the paragraph, you're supposed to say, be able to say, what is this paragraph about? And if you can state in one sentence what this paragraph is about, then that's an effective paragraph. And that also should be the same thing that's stated in your first sentence, which is your topic sentence. And we'll talk about that later as well. Now, in order for a paragraph to be effective, it must begin with the topic sentence stating the main idea. Okay. So basically, after reading that first sentence, we should be able to tell what this paragraph is about. The rest of the paragraph is about that, only you're going to elaborate or support that statement, or give some evidence for that statement, or elaborate on that statement, whatever. So it must begin with the topic sentence stating the main idea, have sentences that support the main idea, as we said, and maintain good structure, order, and flow throughout. So that's the thing, is that you can support something, but do it in such a way that it doesn't flow well, or it's not well organized. And we'll talk about that later. Okay, so we have 4 essential elements to a good paragraph, and the first is unity. So it's focused on only one idea, point, or idea. The next is coherence. It's organized in a logical and properly structured way. The third is topic sentence, which is your main idea is stated in the first sentence in the most general terms possible, so that everything that comes after it flows naturally from that, or is just an elaboration or further evidence of that. And sufficient development. The main idea is thoroughly and effectively supported and or explained. So those are some, so those are the 4 things that each paragraph to have in order to be a good paragraph. Okay, so here's an example. My day was a disaster. First, it had snowed during the night, which meant I had to shovel before I could leave for work. I was mad that I hadn't got up earlier. Then I had troubles. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a shorter one here. Canada is one of the best countries in the world to live in. Canada has an excellent healthcare system. All Canadians have access to medical services at a reasonable price. Canada also has a high standard of education. Students are taught by well-trained teachers and are encouraged to continue studying at university. Finally, Canada's cities are clean and efficiently managed, and they have many parks and lots of space for people to live in. For these and other reasons, Canada is a desirable place to live. So here we have the first sentence. Is this paragraph all about Canada being one of the best countries in the world to live in? Yes, because the rest of the paragraph is written in support of this. It's stating why you're saying Canada is one of the best countries in the world. The first thing is excellent healthcare system. Okay. Second thing is high standard of education. And third thing is clean and efficiently managed cities. So each of these subpoints, okay, so there's three things that are being said in support of this. And it's put in order of, I'm guessing, perhaps importance, okay? So Canada has an excellent healthcare system, so stated in general terms, and then there's further elaboration on that. Okay, why is it an excellent healthcare system? Well, access to medical services at a reasonable price. Second is high standard of education. And then explain more deeply. Well, why do you say there's high standard of education? Students are taught by well-trained teachers and encouraged to continue studying at university and have the ability to, right? And then finally, clean and efficiently managed cities and have many parks and lots of people. And then what we have at the end is kind of a conclusion, a little conclusion. So for these reasons and other reasons, because we don't have time to get into all the reasons, Canada is a desirable place to live. And so you have to see that the topic sentence, Canada is one of the best countries in the world to live in. This is the conclusion to that is quite similar with regards to the topic sentence. Now, you don't want to just repeat the topic sentence, but it's worded slightly differently. So you'll see how that works. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold on. Okay, what I'm going to do is pull up another document here. So if I were to ask you which of the which elements of the following paragraphs lack? Alexander the Great was a successful ruler because his actions created a long-lasting effects on cultures that continue to the present day. Hellenism was the combination of Greek, Persian, and Egyptian cultures. One example of his legacy was creation. Hold on. One example of his legacy was the creation of a Hellenistic society. If this new way of life had not been as successful as it was, let me share this again. Sorry about that. Right. Alexander's legacy would not be as memorable and groundbreaking. New forms of math, science, and design made a great impact on society. During this remarkable time period, people were encouraged to pursue a formal education and produce many different kinds of art. Because he conquered many countries and blended together many different cultures, Alexander the Great is widely recognized for his achievements and credited with being one of the greatest rulers in history. Now, this is all about Alexander the Great and how his actions created long-lasting effects on cultures that continue to the present day. The problem is what? There's an issue with coherence. It's not organized very well. It's just a jumble of things that it's almost like the person wrote in the order which they thought of them. They thought of it. Okay, so Alexander the Great was a successful ruler because his actions created long-lasting effects on cultures that continue to this present day. That made the person think about, oh, I got to talk about Hellenism. Oh, what's Hellenism? I got to talk about what Hellenism is, because that is kind of something that Alexander the Great was the origin of. Okay. Oh, and one example of his legacy was Hellenistic society, and so on and so forth. So you're writing in the order you're thinking of, and that is not the way an essay should write. You need to organize it better because you don't always think in an organized way. Okay, one thing leads to another, and at the end, you have to collect all that and say, okay, I went off on all of these tangents, and this made me think of this and this. Now let's organize it. Another is, my day was a disaster. By 5 o'clock, I was looking forward to getting my paycheck. But when I went to pick it up, the office assistant told me that something had gone wrong with the computers. I would not be able to get my check until Tuesday. When I arrived at work that morning, I was 20 minutes late. Soon I found my assistant had forgotten to make copies of her report that I needed at 9 o'clock. I quickly had to make another plan. That morning I had trouble starting my car, and to make matters worse, my daughter wasn't feeling well and said she didn't think she should go to school. It had snowed during the night, which meant I had to shovel before I could leave for work. After work, I walked down the hill to the parking lot and met my final defeat. In my hurry to park the car in the morning, I had left my parking lights on. Now my battery was dead. Even an optimist like me had the right to be discouraged. Good topic sentence here. My day was a disaster. So what's the whole paragraph about? How your day was a disaster. It's a good topic sentence. But again, what do we have? What's the problem we have here? Oops. We have a similar situation of no coherence. We start with the end of the day, then we go earlier to the day, and then we go even earlier into the day, and then we go back to the end of the day. So again, you're thinking through these. It should be issued in a more logical way. So for things when you're saying, this is what happened throughout my day, you should probably do it chronologically. Now, how about this one? Canada has an excellent healthcare system. All Canadians have access to medical services at a reasonable price. Canada also has a high standard of education. Students are taught by well-trained teachers and are encouraged to continue studying at university. Finally, Canada's cities are clean and efficiently managed, and they have many parks and lots of space for people to live. For these and other reasons, Canada is a desirable place to live. It's pretty much the same paragraph we read before. The difference is, what is our first sentence? Our first sentence should be a topic sentence. What do we have as our first sentence here? Canada has an excellent healthcare system. If your first sentence says Canada has an excellent healthcare system, the entire paragraph has to be written in support of this or elaborating on this. But it's not. We're talking about having an excellent healthcare system, but that's just one of many things you're talking about. You're also talking about a high standard of education, and you're talking about the cleanliness of cities. Cities are clean and efficiently managed. So essentially what you do is you're talking about how Canada is a good place to live. That's what you need to state. So here we're listing a topic sentence in this one. That's the problem with that one. Now this one, Babe Ruth was the greatest baseball player of all time. He has the record for the highest career WAR, which is an acronym that means wins above replacement. And baseball expert Sid Finch regards Ruth as having been the greatest baseball player ever. Who am I to disagree? Okay. Topic sentence, yeah. Babe Ruth was the greatest player of all time, and everything is said in support of that. True. Unity, yeah. Yeah. So we got topic sentence, we got unity. What are we missing here? Okay, the length might tip you off. No sufficient development. If you're going to say Babe Ruth is the greatest baseball player of all time, you have to give sufficient evidence in support of that assertion. And what is two things you have to do here is sufficient development is it has to be done effectively and thoroughly. Okay. So here we have, now I think these are two, we kind of have an example of now. He has the record for highest career wins above replacement. Okay, that's true. And I think that is a very important statistical measure. But what is wins above replacement? Does anybody have a clue out there? I know what it is, and I kind of know the mathematical formula for arriving at it. But it's this new statistical measure that they take all these statistics into account and factor in all this stuff, and they come up with this number to compare players from one era to another era and all this. Now, nobody knows that. So you have to explain that, what that means. And baseball expert Sid Finch regards Ruth as having been the greatest baseball player. Okay, again, it's got to be more than just one baseball expert. So you have to be more thorough than that. You have to say baseball expert Sid Finch regards Ruth as having been the greatest baseball player. So you'd have to say most baseball experts regard Ruth as having. That would be more sufficiently developed. But there's a lot more you have to say, and you have to anticipate, people that say Ruth was not the greatest because of this, because of that, and so on and so forth. So it has to be thorough. You can't don't be too brief on these. You really want to give good support for your assertions. Now, how about this one? Southeast College should change its policy on the requirement for students and staff to wear masks in common areas and hallways. I frequently forget to take my mask with me, so I have to return back home to get it, which is a real inconvenience and affects my learning because I missed the first part of the first period lesson. The mask I have is also too large for me, so it frequently slides down my face, so much so that I have to hold it in place wherever I walk. It also smells like smoke because I have to put it back on right after a break, and that annoys me. The most important reason the college should change its policy, though, is because it infringes upon my rights as a Canadian citizen. It is high time we get together as a class and compose a strongly worded email to the CEO demanding an immediate change to this policy. What is this lacking? Okay, we have a topic sentence here. Okay, we should change our policy. Okay, the whole thing is in support of changing our policies. We should change our policy. The rest of it is arguing as to why we should be doing that. We have unity. It's all focused on the reasons for why we should change our policy, right? There's certainly a lot of things said about it, a lot of reasons given, right? So it does have topic sense. It does have unity. It is organized pretty well, so it does have coherence. But what we're missing is, again, sufficient development. Not in the sense of you didn't say a lot. You did say a lot, but in the sense that it is not done effectively. So in other words, what you're saying is that the college should change its policy because you, one individual, forgets to take their mask. Well, then leave it in your car. Also because the mask you have is too large. Well, then the mask that you, as one individual, wears is too large. So the whole college should change its policy. That's not a good argument because you know what? Get a mask that fits. Okay. The most important reason is because it infringes on my rights as a Canadian citizen. Okay. Hey, that's actually probably the strongest argument they have, but you can't just say it infringes on my rights. You're explaining, proving how it infringes on your rights. So you're given each of these reasons and you're elaborating on this, but then all of a sudden the best reason, probably the best reason you have, or the closest you have to the reason, you're not elaborating on. So you're not doing it effectively. You're not making an effective argument for this point. And again, we have the no unity here because we have a paragraph here where we kind of talk about topic sentences, dogs are great pets, right? But then we start talking about how cats are great pets and how birds are great pets. All right. So then the conclusion is all about pets, not about how dogs are great pets, but about pets. And so what we have here is we have a lack of unity, but in a different sense that, yeah, no unity. It doesn't stick to one thing. From dogs to cats to birds, you got to stick with one thing. Now, you can change the topic sentence so that it does all have unity, but we'll talk about it later. Now, can we fix the above paragraphs? And if so, how? So we can take about the, how would we ensure this paragraph has unity? So we talked about dogs are very great pets. Okay. Now, really, to ensure you have unity is you can simply, what you should probably do with this one is separate them into their own paragraphs. Okay. You kept them all together. There are 3 animals that make great pets. And each. First, dogs are great pets. And this for 3 reasons. The first reason dogs are great pets is, right? Okay. Okay, now you said first, dogs are great pets. Second, cats are also great pets. Okay, and then third, birds are also great pets too for many of the same reasons. Thank God for pets, for our lives would be less full without them. You can do that. Now, I think you're so you can think of dogs, cats, and birds as being three different ideas, or you can think of pets being one idea, uh, and that one idea having um, 3 points or subpoints under it: dogs, cats, and birds. My suggestion is what you do is split these into separate paragraphs because it is getting a little bit long. Okay, it starts to read like, and it'll jar a reader. It'll read like, why are we on the same paragraph? Why aren't we shifting to a new paragraph? Now, how can we ensure that this paragraph has coherence? And this is this one here on Alexander the Great. Okay, so we want to change it so that we have the same topic sentence, but then it flows to, okay, we're talking about how Alexander the Great had a long-lasting effects. So we say one example of his legacy, rather than saying Hellenism. Okay, Hellenism, this statement, Hellenism was the combination of Greek, that nothing you said, nothing in the way you said that ties into Alexander the Great. You do it later, but it should all flow so that we talk about Alexander the Great and we say one example of his legacy was the creation of a Hellenistic society. Okay, so you'll see that instead of talking right away about Hellenism, you have to tie together, you have to give the reader a reason why you're talking about Hellenism in the first place. The reason you're talking about Hellenism in the first place is because this is part of Alexander the Great's legacy. Now you can talk about what Hellenism is. Okay? Hellenism was the combination of this. Now, during that time period, during this time period, this is what happened, right? Education, art, new forms of sciences. Okay? And you see how that flows nicely now. So we're talking about Hellenism. So we're taking Alexander the Great. We're saying he's great because of Hellenism. Talking about how great Hellenism is, and then we tie that back to Alexander. Okay, if this new way of life had not been as successful as it was, Alexander's legacy would not be as memorable and groundbreaking. Because he conquered many countries and blended together many different cultures, that's all part of Hellenism. Alexander the Great is widely recognized for his achievements and credited with being one of the greatest rulers in history. So you're kind of summarizing this, summarizing his contribution, conquering countries and blending them together. Okay, this is Hellenism. This is what Hellenism did. That's the great thing about it, is this combination of cultures. And because of that, he's widely recognized for his achievements. So you'll see now how that works. Now, again, how can we assure this paragraph has a topic sentence? And we already saw how we can assure that. We just have to add a sentence. And you'll find that some of the things that you write about, some of the paragraphs you write, you read the first sentence and say, is everything, that's what you need to do at the end of every paragraph. Read the first sentence over again and say, okay, does everything, is this a true topic sentence? Does everything said in support of that? Does everything kind of flow from that? Is this, in one sentence, a general summary of my paragraph, or state in the most simple terms what my point is in trying to get across in this paragraph? And if it doesn't, then you might need to add a topic sentence. Now, how do you ensure these paragraphs have sufficient development? So Babe Ruth was the greatest baseball player, whatever. Southeast College should change its policy on requirements for student and staff. We talked about this, right? Where you have to talk about, you have to talk about the sorry, I lost it. Okay, So you basically have to ensure it's effective and thorough, right? So you're making good arguments, or you're making good points, or things that really do support your sentence, and you're doing them in a way that's clear and that's effective and that thorough, that you're not being too brief with your points, like we saw with Babe Ruth, being too brief with your points. Okay, so can anything be done to redeem this paragraph? I had eggs for breakfast this morning. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. All this stuff. There are three primary topics. Okay. Can anything be done to redeem this paragraph? I always challenge students with this. And really, it's amazing what can be done with the topic sentence, because you could say, I am going to repeat all the random thoughts that went through my mind as I was preparing this lesson, and let's see. Oh, never mind. I'll do it. Okay, there you go. So, what is this paragraph about? All the random thoughts. And what's the rest of the paragraph? A bunch of random thoughts. So that is a way that you can actually redeem a lot of your paragraphs just with the use of a good topic sentence. But make sure you have a good topic sentence, because you will be graded on that. So now we talk about what is an essay. And now what is a paragraph? Well, a paragraph is this group of sentences that fleshes out a single idea. So therefore, an essay is a group of paragraphs that fleshes out a single idea. That's really what it is. Now, an essay can be thought of as an expanded paragraph or a macro paragraph, where instead of putting each portion together in one paragraph, you split each into its own paragraph. So in a paragraph, what you have is a topic sentence. Well, then when you split this up, this becomes your introduction. And what you have in your introduction is something called a thesis statement, which is the topic sentence of your essay. But unlike, well, anyway, we'll get into that. And then you have the supporting and developing sentences, okay? Excellent healthcare system, a good education, clean, good cities, okay? That becomes your body. So 3 points, each with its own paragraph. You elaborate on each of them, and then you're concluding or summarizing sentence. You turn that into a conclusion, and that'll be your last paragraph. So we have the essay, which is your first or the introductory paragraph, which is your first paragraph. Then you have your body, which is the next 3 paragraphs or more. Can be more, but I always have students do 3, and then the last paragraph. So paragraph 1 and 5 are your intro and conclusion, and then 2, 3, and 4 are your body. Now, the essential elements are the same in a paragraph and in an essay. What you have is unity. This whole essay is focused on one idea, point, or argument, which is captured in your thesis statement, and the rest of your essay is all about supporting, developing your thesis statement, supporting your thesis statement, proving your statement, elaborating on your thesis statement, whatever. Coherence, organized in a logical and properly structured way. So again, you want your paragraphs, you want your introduction to flow nice, each paragraph to flow nicely into the other one, just show how that's connected. A thesis statement, okay, we already talked about that, and sufficient development. Again, that applies to an essay as well. And in 3 paragraphs, if you're writing on a big subject, you may not think you even have enough space, but essentially you have to write as much as you can in the limitations that you're given. Now, an essay can also be written according to a different method consisting in a number of steps. Now, we'll get to that in a minute, but I really want to show you. Well, no, I will do that now, actually. I'll show you the paragraph after. But the first thing you have to do in essay writing, hold on. So essentially, the first step is you're not even writing. In the first step, you're not even writing. You're not putting a thing on paper. Well, you can, but you're not really writing anything that's going to be part of your essay really as main purpose, idea, point, argument, message, whatever you're trying to do. You're trying to make a point or you're trying to give information, whatever. You're thinking about what you're writing about essentially. What is your topic? So you're thinking about who your readers are and what you're trying to get across to them. And really what you're trying to do is think about what you're trying to write about. And you have a vague understanding of who your intended audience is. You're always writing with someone in mind, and it's usually not a person with well-shaped features that you can clearly see. It's usually some vague, hard to really put your finger on some audience, but you usually have somebody in mind that is like, how would this person, what do I want this person to, how do I want this person to, I think I want this person to read it, and how do I want this person to, what do I need to say in order to get across this person, basically. But basically, the first point is you're just thinking about what to write about. And the whole intended audience, that just kind of comes naturally. The second thing is your thesis statement. First thing you're going to write is your thesis statement. Okay? Nothing, if you don't have a thesis statement, you probably shouldn't start writing an essay. You probably shouldn't start because you're going to have to redo it. You're going to go off and you're going to realize, oh my goodness, you know, what is this essay even about? Because if you don't have a thesis statement to guide your writing, you're going to end up with a lack of unity. And then after that, to try to craft a thesis statement after you have no unity is a lot tougher, and it's not going to read as well. So state your main purpose, idea, point, argument, or message in one sentence. In other words, think about your purpose for writing in step one, and number two, put that in the form of a statement. Okay, begin the sentence with your general topic, and then complete the sentence with your specific purpose and point. Okay, so I'm going to write about my life. What about your life? My life what? My life has been difficult. Okay. I'm going to write about public transportation. What about public transportation? Public transportation should be in every city in Saskatchewan. So there's always got to be a general topic, and then what specifically do you want to say about that topic? Okay, that's in your essay writing guide, by the way, that I posted. So you might want to have a browse through that. Talks really good about that. Now the next step is to brainstorm, organize, and outline. And again, at this point, you are not writing paragraphs. You're not writing paragraphs. So the first step is to brainstorm, and that's to jot down thoughts that relate to your thesis statement, specifically what will help you to prove or explain it. So you're putting jot points down. Jot points down. Or you might have a sentence that you craft, or whatever. But a lot of jot points, just information, whatever. See, the tendency is however you think of it, you just turn that into a paragraph. Yeah, but don't do that. Turn them into jot points. So whatever order you think of it, just write them down as jot points. And then at that point, what you're going to do is you are going to organize them. Group all or similar or related thoughts together. You'll find when you put random thoughts down, one thing connects to another, Don't be afraid when you do that to say the same things over and over again. Because what you're going to do is you're going to organize that, and you want to group everything together. And then some things you might have repeated once or more than once, and you can cross those things out. But then you should kind of group them all. Try to see it. They're going to start to conglomerate. So this kind of relates to this, and this relates to this, and all of a sudden, what you're going to end up with? Can you end up with 3 major points? 3 major categories that all those things go into. And if you do, those are the 3 paragraphs that your essay will consist of, or the body of your essay will consist of. Now, if you have 4 things, well, then you need 4 paragraphs for your body, but I want you to learn to be able to put everything into 3 paragraphs. In later essays, I will be happy to allow you to write more than 3 paragraphs in your body, but for this one, I want you to stick with 3, just to show me you can do it. And the C is the outline, so the final product of your brainstorming and organizing. Now that can be in various forms. Now some have seen these, the web. Okay, so a thought web or alphanumeric. So I'll just give you kind of I'll show you an example of this, of these that you can do. But okay, I'll just get an example of this up here. So it looks kind of like this. I'm going to try to bring that up. I don't think what you have is your topic. This is your topic. This is your thesis statement right in the middle. And then from there, your 4 main ideas. Well, those are going to form your topic sentences. And each of those topic sentences are going to be have subpoints on them, or things that go in support of them, right? So we have it there. Okay, 4 paragraph thesis statement, 4 paragraphs, and your kind of the stuff that goes in the paragraph. The other form that you can take is outline or essay. Is kind of do an alphanumeric one, which is, I'll see if I can find one on here. Yeah, this one. So in this form, and this is more of a traditional form that some of you may have seen, but essentially body. Okay, so one introduction, B is your body, and then you put 1, 2, 3. First point, second point, third point, and A, and you see how it numbers, letters, numbers, letters. It goes on like that. That's kind of the template for it. But a sample would be, let's try to get a sample here of one that we can, that would be good. Yeah. Anyway, I can't actually find one. There is one in your, I will be linking one in your, on your essay sheet, on the page. Okay, so on your, I'll give you a link on the stream and say go to this page, and this is the information you'll need. I'll do that after this. But you can also have an informal one, so you can have kind of, it doesn't have to necessarily be in that structure. You can have an informal one. It just has a bunch of points, and you circle this and you put a square around that, and this arrow points to this, and it's all over the place, and it's like nobody can make any sense out of it, but you can. So if that's your outline, that's fine. And really, after you've organized your information, you may not have to do another step of creating an outline. That might provide enough of an outline for you. Basically, it's just something to follow to make sure that you are organizing and structuring your essay. That's what an outline is. So if at the end of organizing things, you have enough of what you need to provide a decent outline, then you don't need to actually create a formal outline. I'm not going to be asking for outlines. I'm going to be asking for outlines in the writing process as you begin your essay writing, because I want to help you to learn. And the more essays you write, the less and less I'm going to help you. But at that point, at any step of the way, send me what you have and I'll give you feedback. Okay, the 4th thing is your body. So there are 7 stages to writing these paragraphs, or to writing this essay. And you're not actually writing paragraphs till the 4th step. Most people start writing paragraphs in the 2nd step. Don't do that. So for each paragraph, what you need to have is a main topic. The major topics from your organization. All right, so from your outline, organizing or outline. will each have its own paragraph and will form your topic sentence. So basically what you put in that bubble there, that will form the main one. Now, hold on. Oh, shoot. Sorry, I'm trying to do this, reduce the size. Okay, will form your topic sentence. Now, from each of those is kind of, you have subpoints. And don't think of it in terms of subpoints like I have to have a first, second, third, not necessarily. You don't necessarily have that. Sometimes you do, right? Cape Canada is a great place to live because of this, this, and this, but certainly there within that support, there's maybe a couple of different things that you have to elaborate on, right? And so you just kind of do those in order. So it may or may not need that. And then, of course, you're always elaborating, right? You're supporting or explaining the general statements in the topic sentence and or the subpoints. So just don't say Babe Ruth has the greatest war. Well, what's war? And why is that an important measure? And conclusion or transition. So the sentence should make it clear that this is the end of the paragraph. And there are a number of ways to do that. Okay, I'm just going to put this on the next page. There are a number of ways to do this. You can do this by summarizing the paragraph, nice little summary. You can provide a general takeaway from what is written. Okay. So this is the moral of the story, basically. Or you can hint at what's coming next. Those are all potential ways of doing it. Now, there's a very important note here, and that is transition from one topic or one paragraph to another can also be accomplished in the topic sentence of the next paragraph. And I'll show you how that's done when I give an example of this. Okay, so this may seem backwards, but we're writing our body and then we're writing our introductory paragraph. Now, you don't have to do it that way. You can write your introductory paragraph first. It's usually easier to take a look at the body, the substance. And from there, it's a lot more clear as to how you should introduce your essay. So that's what I would recommend. But again, a lot of times what people do is they write an intro and then their body, and then they have to go back and fix their intro. So again, it's just whatever you prefer. But this is meant to present your subject where you are going to go, present it. So you're going to tell the reader what it's about, what specifically you're going to say about it, your thesis statement, and you're supposed to get the reader interested. Now that's done with what's called a hook. And that's you want to start off with something that's going to grab the attention of the reader and make him or her take interest. Now this doesn't have to be, you know, fireworks or anything like that, but essentially what you want to start off with is not a topic sentence. Do not start off with, this is the one exception where your introductory paragraph, do not start the introductory paragraph with your thesis statement. You want to build up to it. You want to build up to it, right? So it's the first sentence of your, everything should kind of relate. When you create the first sentence, everything should relate to that, but it shouldn't be a topic sentence in the sense that the first sentence is you're going to elaborate on this. In the sense you are, but in the sense what you're doing is you're leading up to your thesis statement. So build up to it by a number of different ways. Now you can do an anecdote, so tell a little story. That's a really good way to do it. People love stories. A dialogue, okay? Two people were talking and this person said this person, this person. That's a good way. A quote or a saying, okay? Some writers that I've had, you know, love their quotes. So-and-so said, ta-da-ta-da, very profound thought to get you thinking. And simply background information or some of the issue. The issue of vaccines is a very controversial one in Canada today. Some say ta-da-ta-da-ta-da, others say ta-da-ta-da-ta-da. So those are all legitimate ways of doing it. The topic or the controversy surrounding or whatever. Then comes your thesis statement. And that is, unlike a topic sentence, the thesis statement is found in the middle or towards the end of the paragraph. You will be deducted if your first sentence of your intro is your thesis statement. And then finally, we have the blueprint, which is the overview of the major points you will use to support your thesis. This is optional. Not everyone has a blueprint. But I'll show an example of a blueprint right away, and you can Tell me what you think about that. Okay. And then, of course, some people love their blueprints and some people care less. But anyway. So, oops. Okay, so then you write your conclusion. And after you've written your senior, and really you kind of want to see what your intro says in order to, and your body, of course, in order to be able to write your conclusion. It seems like if you read it all through, the conclusion comes to you. Now that provides closure in various forms, including some or all of the following. You can summarize the main topics, just reword them. You don't want to repeat the same exact words or sentences. The moral of the story and the lesson you learn. An important or general takeaway, as I said before, a final thought or perspective or outcome. This, I leave you with this thought. A call to action or a zinger or a punchline, especially the last sentence. You know, journalists are really good at doing this. That last line in a lot of editorials and stuff is just a zinger. And do not include any new information that should be captured in your body. So if you're introducing another reason, a big reason in support of your thesis statement, that should have been in your body. Your conclusion cannot read as though it's part of your body. It has to read like the conclusion. Now, the last step is to proofread, edit, revise, finalize, and entitle it. Now, what is all this stuff? Okay, proofread is essentially a case of you're just looking it over. Okay. You're looking it over for ways to improve it. Okay, so for and editing and revising is really just two sides of the same coin. Editing means correcting grammar. Oh, I spelled this word wrong. Revising has to do with the four essential elements. And oh, there's a problem with unity here. There's a problem with coherence there. So editing and revising is basically the same thing. It's just I use editing usually to refer to grammar, spelling and those things, and revising to talk about the problems with the four essential elements. Finalize it. So in other words, produce your final draft, the one that you're going to hand in, and then put a title on it. So that could be a summary of the thesis, which also ideally makes a statement. And again, titles, I'm not too fussy about titles, so you don't really have to worry about titles in this class. Now I want to show you, just to end off, a sample essay. And this is a great model. It's called The Hazards of Movie Going. So there you have already in the title, there is something hazardous about movie going. That is what this is about. Now it's a kind of a creative way of saying it. Or an artistic way of saying it. You don't want to be really humdrum. The reasons why I don't like to go to the theater. No, it's more artistic to say the hazards of movie going. Get your interest. So, introductory paragraph. What we have here is the hook, the thesis, and the blueprint. So it begins, I am a movie fanatic. Hey, remember, this is not a topic sentence. This is a way to introduce the topic in order to build up to your thesis statement. So in other words, this is you're going to put really the so this paragraph, in other words, is not all about how you are a movie fanatic, but that gets you. That's a good place to hook the reader in and get you to that thesis statement that you're trying to get to. I am a movie fanatic. When friends want to know what picture won the Oscar in 1980 or who played the police chief in Jaws, they ask me. My friends, though, transition, have stopped asking me if I want to go out to the movies. I have decided that the idea of going to the movie theater to see a movie is overrated, so I've quit going. Okay, so they've asked me to stop going to the movies. And it's like, wow, he's a movie expert, but even is the movie experts not going to the movies? There must be a good reason for that. So you're hooked, right? So I've quit going. The problem in getting to the theater itself, and the behavior of some of the patrons are all reasons why I often wait for a movie to show up on TV. Okay, and again, wait for a movie to show up on TV is just another way of wording it. It's an artistic way of basically saying is why I no longer go to the theater. So, problems getting to the theater, that's your blueprint. That's the first paragraph. Theater itself, that's the second paragraph. And the behavior of the patrons, third paragraph. So first, supporting paragraph. First of all, just getting to the theater itself presents difficulties. Okay, and this is now you can put this in any order, but what order do we put in? We put it in the order of the person when they're actually traveling, so chronological order. Leaving a home equipped with a TV and a video recorder isn't an attractive idea on a humid, cold, or rainy night. So first of all, the weather's bad. So as soon as I walk out the door, I'm dealing with bad weather. Even if the weather cooperates, here's the transition. Then there's still the 30-minute drive to the theater down the congested highway, followed by the hassle of looking for a parking space. You see how they put that all in one sentence. Now you could say, the first thing is, weather's bad. Second thing is, 30-minute drive to the theater. Third thing is a congested highway. Fourth thing is, hassle of looking for a parking space. Okay, so you can link some of these things together in a way that's more artistic, though you don't have to. If you want to say the first thing is, the second thing is, that's fine. And then there are the lines. After hooking yourself to the end of a human chain, you worry about whether there will be enough tickets, whether you will get seats together, and whether many people will sneak into the line ahead of you. Okay, now notice how there's no conclusion here, but the transition comes in the beginning of the second paragraph. Once you have made it to the box office, so in other words, once you actually get there, because that was what the first one was all about, and gotten your tickets, you are confronted with the problems of the theater itself, and that's topic sentence, confronted with the problems of the theater itself. If you are in one of the rundown old theaters, you must adjust to the musty smell of seldom cleaned carpets. Escape springs lurk in the faded plush or cracked leather seats, and half the seats you sit in seem loose or tilted so that you sit in at a strange angle. The newer twin and quad theaters offer their own problems. Okay, subpoint number 2. Okay, sitting in an area only 1/4 the size of a regular theater, moviegoers often have to put up with the sound of the movie next door. This is especially jarring when the other movie involves racing cars or a karate war, and you are trying to enjoy a quiet love story. And whether the theater is old or new, third subpoint, it will have floors that seem to be coated with rubber cement. By the end of the movie, shoes almost have to be pried off the floor because they have become sealed to a deadly compound of spilled soda, hardened bubblegum, and crushed jujubes. Third paragraph. Some of the patrons are even more of a problem than the theater itself. So this is about the patrons, and the transition comes here by saying that the patrons are even more of a problem than what I talked about in the second paragraph. Little kids raced up and down the aisles, usually in giggling packs. Teenagers try to impress their friends by talking back to the screen, whistling, and making what they consider to be hilarious noises. So we go from children to teenagers, and even in the adults, we can't escape it, because adults act as if they were at home in their own living rooms, comment loudly on the ages of the stars or why movies aren't as good anymore. This is a person really who's gone to the theater so many times, they just start to, the little things, you know, familiarity breeds contempt. This is what's going on. Adults act as if they were at home in their own living rooms. Okay. And people of all ages crinkle candy wrappers. So children, teenagers, adults, and all ages crinkle candy wrappers, stick gum on their seats, and drop popcorn tubs or cups of crushed ice and soda on the floor. They also cough and burp, squirm endlessly in their seats, file out for repeated trips. This person's so jaded. To the restrooms or concession stand, and elbow you out of the armrest on either side of your seat. Oh my goodness. So, conclusion. After arriving home from one night of the movies, I decided that I was not going to be a moviegoer anymore. I was tired of the problems involved, and you're rewording your thesis. Okay, so I was tired of the problems involved in getting to the movies and dealing with the theater itself and some of the patrons. So you're basically repeating your blueprint. The next day, I arranged to have a cable TV service installed in my home. This is kind of the final outcome. I may now see movies a bit later than other people, so there's a bad side to this, but it'll be more relaxed. I'll be more relaxed watching box office hits in the comfort of my own living room. And that's essentially necessary. Look at that page. All that stuff is posted. And if you need help at any stage along the way, reach out to me.